Hello everyone and welcome. Make a cup of your favorite drink and get comfortable because this is a wonderful time for news stories from Yellow Cat. Send your own stories in the comments below and maybe they'll be in our new video. What do you hate most about your neighbor? One morning, I was running late to work and didn't have time to shovel my driveway and sidewalk. My stay-at-home mom wife texted me later that day to tell me our female neighbor and her 6-year-old daughter were shoveling our driveway and sidewalk for us. I told her to go out and thank them and tell them I'd shovel their driveway and sidewalk next time. Next big snow, I wake up 30 minutes early to shovel their areas as well as my own. But they're already out there with their shovels. So the snow after that, I woke up 60 minutes early. They were already out there. This morning, I woke up an hour and 15 minutes early. They were there. Next time it snows, I'm not even going to bed. As each flake falls, I will immediately shovel it. I will make us even, neighbor! I swear it! Hammering things at all hours of the day and night. 8 a.m., time to hammer. 3 p.m., time to hammer. Midnight, time to hammer. 3 in the effing morning, time to effing hammer! When I was still living with my parents, I used to have this old lady as a neighbor. This lady was convinced that we had some kind of magic stick that made her fall down when we would use it. She even told this to the police, but they didn't buy it. Oh, and her son also smashed our front door a couple of times with a brick. My current next door neighbor is awesome. He's quiet, polite, doesn't block my garage with his trash or his cars. He's basically the exact opposite of the last a-hole that lived there. The last people I was sure had an ill-behaved dog for several months because I could hear them screaming all the time, "Lucy, get the F down! Lucy, you effing idiot, never do that again! GD, Lucy, stop effing doing that!" And on. Lucy was their 2-year-old kid. They also got off on blocking my garage with their trash cans until I told them if they did it again, I was going to hide their trash cans and they'd never find them. Okay, so my neighbors actually moved out recently, but for the year they lived next to me, I built up a lot of hate for them. But it is nothing compared to their overwhelming hate for each other. There is the angry man voice and the whiny female voice. And I don't understand how two people can be in a relationship and an apartment together and actually have these fights. They don't even fight about anything in particular. It's just a constant stream of, "You don't love me." "Well, you're a bee." "You never say you love me anymore." You suffocate my energy." These are actual quotes that I heard them say to each other. I do not miss my former neighbors. Current neighbor. I hate how he parks in my driveway when I'm not home. He has a perfectly good long driveway of his own, but when I take off work during the week and run an errand, I'll often come home to him being parked in my driveway. Also, he has a little yappy dog and he's a racist. Former neighbor. How he was always trying to keep up with the Joneses. We tore down and rebuilt our deck. He tore down and rebuilt his deck a month later. We tore off our siding and put up new siding. He did the same a month later. We built a new front porch. He built a new front porch. Also, he called the health department on us for having 4 2x4s on the side of our house because he said it was a squirrel harborage issue. But this rat bee had squirrel feeders 10 feet away in his backyard. He also called the health department because he thought my dog was too thin. Never mind, I'd been taking the poor guy to the vet to figure out what was wrong. I had to take off work and present my dog's medical records to animal control to keep them from taking him away. And when we put our house up for sale, he talked S over the hedges to potential buyers. 4 different potential buyers told us so. He told them untrue things that were wrong with the house. Oh, and he had a snow blower that he would use every time it snowed to blow all the snow from his driveway onto ours, literally making me shovel twice as much snow pregnant. Basically, I hate this guy with the fire of 1,000 suns and think he should burn in H if I believed in H. We never did anything to him. Never made noise, never trashed his lawn, etc., etc., etc. When they mow their lawn and a tiny strip of grass, which is actually their lawn on the other side of their driveway, so it looks like my property, so I have to mow my own lawn so I don't seem like some savage who let my grass grow taller than 1 inch. They are both mean people. She possibly could be bipolar. He just makes things worse by never being home. For a few years, she was in everybody's business in the neighborhood. She drove everybody crazy, including the township. If you had contractors at your house, she would come over and see what they were doing and waste a ton of their time by talking to them forever and pretending to be interested in their services. Things got better a few years ago, when she started having an affair with a guy from the other street. This went on for a year or two, and then the spouse found out. It destroyed the one guy's marriage, and my neighbors are still married, but he rarely stays there anymore. I think they're proceeding with foreclosure on my neighbor's house, so it should be interesting. Tons of stories about her from years back. She once wrote a 12-page rambling letter to all the neighbors in the neighborhood, only 5 houses on our street. We really could not understand the point of her letter. It was just complaining about all of us and how wonderful she thought she was. One time, she found out our street had a 10-foot right-of-way in front of all of the yards. She interpreted that as open property. So I came home to her digging up my front yard to put in a flower bed. She would not listen to me and insisted it was open land. I had to get the township to come out and tell her the right-of-way was only for utility companies to work on. Well, we have crazy crack addicts as our neighbors in London. They stay up all night making crazy non-verbal shrieking sounds, retching what sounds like all of their internal organs up, and generally battering each other about. They also have, I think, around 3 illegal dogs which never shut up and routinely attack their patrons. I moved in 5 months ago and have already called the police 3 times, I think? To put that into perspective, before I moved into this house, I had never called 999. Then one day, the effing riot police showed up with about 20 officers and took them away after a huge struggle. They took a statement from me. Forensics teams were there 24 hours a day for 5 days straight with a constant police barricade around the front door. I mean, forensics teams? For 5 days. Someone must have died, surely. I go away for the weekend, come back on the Sunday night, and see there are no more policemen. I get into bed, and what do I hear? A drug deal in progress. Literally, what the F is wrong with these people? My neighbors are loud as H. I've lived in the same townhouse for 5 years, and in that time, I've had quite a few neighbors. They've been from all sorts of demographics. A single old lady, a young couple, 4 college guys, none hold a candle to my current neighbors. 2 men, 1 woman, 1 4-year-old, 3 dogs. I guess they're okay people, but they are the loudest son of a bees. They only slam doors apparently because the sound reverberates into our apartment. Despite having a fenced-in backyard, they smoke and talk out on the front porch, which we share until the wee hours of the morning on weeknights. They play their television so loudly all day long that I can name that show from anywhere in my unit. The most entertaining bit, though, is when they have screaming fights at 2 a.m. The kid cries, the dogs bark, and everything is terrible. There's no amount of talking or pleading that can convince them to change their behavior, and I'm hesitant to call the landlord because I'm pretty sure that would result in my property getting damaged. Now, you would think this might just be the result of thin walls. Nope. The only time I ever had to talk to the college bros about noise was when they were throwing a big party one Sunday night and I had to work the next day. Seriously, screw the neighbors. I hate them with a passion. In the gated complex that I live in, we get a 2-car garage to each unit. My neighbor owns 3 cars. The neighbors think I don't mind when they park in front of my garage when I asked them and sent them a notice not to park in front of my garage because it blocks access. I tow their effing car every time and bill them for the towing fee. I just woke up from a nap 20 minutes ago and found an i523 BMW parked in front of my garage. Towed that effer away. After I get reimbursed from this one, I'm getting a new phone. I have a sign that says no parking, tow away zone in red and white letters in plain English posted on the garage door. They drink throughout the weekdays and throw parties all the time. That would be that bad if every time I take my dog out to pee, they bark at him. They're renting from the same people, and on the lease, it says no parties. But one of the tenants is our landlord's sister. I stay with my parents because college, so I live next to this guy for my whole life. He's old and nosy and takes it upon himself to be the watcher of my cul-de-sac. He demands to know everything going on, such as what's happening if my family is preparing for a party, etc. He patrols with his dog constantly, especially when one of my friends stops by the house. He fights with my dad constantly about the property line and mowing, and cuts back the trees on our side of the fence dividing our backyard so he can see in more clearly. He called animal control on my senile 16-year-old dog that he knew was ours when she wandered out of our yard and got stuck in some mud on the bank of a river. When I was home. He also told my parents they were first moving in 20 years ago that they were the ones who were going to ruin the neighborhood. I believe in good fence make good neighbors. I've always been on good terms with my neighbors, but have never been too friendly. I own a successful business. The guy next door to me is an electrical engineer and his wife an attorney. There's a private beach and marina up the road where we keep our boats. My wife, kids, and I were walking towards my boat when we passed our neighbors. I stopped to chit-chat, but they went out of their way to give us the cold shoulder. I think my actual words were, "So long, Krabby," which really set the wife off. She was screaming about letting her husband go, I was going to regret it, and she would own my much larger home when she was done with my wrongful termination suit. My wife wanted to know what she was talking about, and so did I because he has never worked for me. It turned out he was laid off about a year ago, told his wife I offered him more money, so he left his previous job and was living off his savings while he looked for work. When the savings ran out, he told her I fired him because he was making me look bad. Later on, I found out they told this story to a few other neighbors. What a D. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, the likes, and the comments. See you in the next video.